Hello, ladies and beautiful gents. Welcome back to the Dabble and Babble podcast with your ever so gracious host, Brian Avela Sozuzu. Sazazo? Salazo. Alien guest.
Hello, it's me.
I'm not alone in the world. Thank
Yay.
God.
I'm finally on this podcast, which I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, she is my one and only diehard fan.
Oh yeah.
She rapidly enjoys my ever so lonely ramblings. Though actually now I've had the twins on, which I've already uploaded, and by this point I've already uploaded my 6th episode, which would be with my friend Luke. And so probably the next one will be the 7th one will probably be another one I record alone, and then after that one I'll upload this one. So yeah,
Ooh.
we have a streak going on of friends, and I've wasted all of them already.
No, I'm pretty sure some of them will be glad to be back.
I gotta go on my classes, like like I said, creative writing, and just ask people like, hey, you want to be on my podcast? It's like, what do you want to talk about? I don't know.
Just random people you don't know.
Yeah.
In the class.
It's like we'll be on podcast for free. Just have a lunch table and a flyer.
Put that on a shirt.
Yeah, we'll podcast.
It's cool, I guess. In parentheses.
Oh, yeah. For those subscribers from that really more popular channel from the twins, she is the one responsible for that ever so beautiful thumbnail and image you're looking at right now. It is very nice.
Oh, thank you. I realize now that when you upload it, it's not
Fully in.
Yes, because the dimensions I worked on.
Mm-hmm.
If it's too big, my computer will crash because it's HP trash computer. So maybe one day I'll make it bigger, or maybe I'll edit it. I don't know.
Maybe just make a whole new image. When I actually have from some running themes, definitely have writing as a theme.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely have music as a theme.
Yeah.
Definitely have me sounding sad sometimes as a theme. I don't know.
It's just a black screen with you in the corner, just all sad.
I just need a running gag, but this is what I need, a running gag. But yeah, it'll be me all dressed up. Actually, I'll actually wear the hat.
Okay.
Yeah, the thumbnail is actually great. What was your? Because what happened? What the story behind the thumbnail was, I was in the process of just thinking this idea, and I was just pondering it, also deciding whether I want to do it or not, and I decided I wanted to do it, and I thought just okay, what do I gotta lose? And so as the day I decided I was gonna do this, actually, I sent a Snapchat to you saying hey, would you want to draw something for me?
Oh,
thinking thinking many times before, you just blow me off saying oh, I'm so busy, and I thought so too, because you're fucking busy. You got artists, you got art crap, you got whole lot of stuff. So I thought oh, you're not gonna be able to do it. Then you immediately messaged me saying oh, I can do it. What do you want me to draw? I was shit. I had no idea. I genuinely no idea what I wanted you to draw for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just looked around my room and thought okay, what can she draw that makes me look good? And so I just thought Dabble and Babble on the computer screen, the hat I had, in my room. So I just threw that on the table and the cane and whatnot. That was all just random thought, and the whole scribbles on the side thing, that was just something I thought of doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I really no plan. The fact that it came out as well as it did is a testament to partly my improvisational skills and partly your great artistry.
Oh, thank you. See, when you sent me the picture, I was okay, I'm glad you gave me something to work off of. Because usually when I ask people, what do they want me to draw? They're oh, go wild. That doesn't really help me as an artist. And I get that I'm supposed to use, my creative mind set and all the things, I've learned. But if I make something you don't like and you don't give me my money, then I'm going to be poor.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I mentioned before, I knew the exact moment I wanted to become a writer. But do you have that as an artist? Did you just always think of just growing up, I like drawing?
I didn't actually, because as a kid I was very easily influenced by everything I saw around me. Because I remember at one point in my life, I was 6, so my mind wasn't fully developed, and I thought of really stupid stuff. So I was man, being a garbage man is pretty cool. I could be a garbage woman. That's cool. I like that.
Your whole diversity.
Yeah.
You really got ahead of that thing.
Yeah, and then I think around 10, I got my DS, my first DS, and I got like a fashion game. I was like, man, I could be a fashion designer and like be the next Gucci or Louis Vuitton. And then
I think that's that same age I got my DS. I have my bag over there. It looks like it's covered in semen, but it's actually like my mom gave me like a weird gel, like a gel deodorant, and I always use too much, so I'll just like flick it onto that.
Oh, okay.
And so it looks like it's covered in semen. I don't know why. So you had like a fashion game on your DS?
I did, and I still have it, and sometimes I play it, and I'm like, man, I could never be a fashion designer because my sense of style is trash. And then I think my artistic ability really developed at 13 because I actually took like my first art class, and then people started like complimenting me on stuff and how well I did, and I was like, man, I like people telling me I'm good at something. That makes me feel really happy. As does everyone. But I think the thing that really got me into art was like video games. Like concept art is like the best thing to me.
Yeah, you
like,
buy all those like really big books at Barnes and Noble and whatnot.
Yeah, I have like a bunch of art books from like Zelda and Overwatch. I think I might be getting like a Game of War art book, like a concept art book, because I just like reading the creative processes through the producers and like story designers and all that. And yeah.
Could you like list say like a big inspiration? Because I know mine for my first writing project, like I said, when I was in 8th grade and like had a hand in something for like, we had a prompt. I probably explained this before on the podcast, but I'll say it again. You know, it was English class. You know, I had a prompt given to me, 100 Eyes on Me, and I was playing Mafia 2 at the time, and I thought like, oh, interrogation, and then I got good grade and all that whatnot. Is there a game you can say like for certain it was like my inspiration? Because I got Mafia 2 to think. I got to thank for that, for my inspiration.
Oh, I think the game that really influenced me the most was the original Star Wars for Xbox.
Like the Lego version, or?
No. Like the boring black Xbox, like the old like computer Xbox.
I mean like the game.
Oh yeah, it wasn't Lego, but it was like kind of live action, but the model's really bad.
As it was on the Xbox.
As it was with every old, game. But I think watching my dad play it and like seeing all these people with like lightsabers and like the Force was like really cool to me. And so I wanted to make characters with like, superpowers and all this other like sci-fi stuff. So I started drawing like Luke, and I think I still have a picture of that picture I drew, and it makes me laugh every time I look at it because his head looks like a grape.
It's like you when 13-year-olds draw FNAF characters.
Yeah.
It's like that basically. That's for you.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into the Star Wars fandom or no?
No, I remember going to see Rogue One because my dad was like, "Hey, let's go watch this movie," and I was like, "No, but I have school that day." He's like, "I can just sneak you out of school," so I just wanted an excuse to leave early.
Sneak you out of school, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we planned it as a doctor's appointment, but we all knew what was going on.
I was gonna help defeat the virus that was the Empire.
By sitting in the movie theater, morally supporting, an already written movie.
And it's fine. It's real. It's a real thing. Don't make light of it because it really happened. It's a real thing. The Force is a real thing. Please subscribe to our religion. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a Star Wars Force religion that is a real thing that people believe that the Force is real.
Jediism. That's what it's called.
Same thing with like Scientology. Like it was written by fiction writers. Why do you believe this? You have families. This is the most confusing thing.
Like two guys just sat down and were like, man, Star Wars is really cool. Maybe we should make a whole religion out of it. Yes.
No, what happened was they actually believe it. They believe their own bullshit. Or like one day, like really trying, and like they moved a soda can off the sofa couch cushion, and it fell on the ground. Like, dude, maybe the Force is real. And like they're like super fans, so they think like, oh my god, it's so cool. And reality, like their dog who was like begging for water because I haven't fed him in so long because he was too busy watching Star Wars was kicking the sofa, begging for help, and that's what knocked over the soda can.
But they still believed it was real anyway.
Yeah, the dog died. Don't worry.
He died in vain.
Yeah, he died. He died for those Jedi sins.
He's the Overlord now. Oh boy.
Yeah, God. So yeah, you had the Star Wars game. I think I had the same thing. We mentioned talking this in the ride here that the way I got into video games was my father, because he had also original Xbox, and he played a lot of Halo, and I learned that like I would just watch him, like as a kid, and like eventually he just gave me the controller, because he got frustrated. I think. Yeah, I just like I probably was just bugging him, saying like, oh, like what's that? And it's like, here you go, son. And like in that game, like I said, I always would run up to people and just melee them, because I didn't understand the concept of ammo. Like I always thought like, oh, this is all you have. You gotta make it count.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what counting was back then. Like what enemies to hit at all. So I just kept meleeing things, and it worked. Me and my brother would play. So, and we would play, the tiny split screen on the tiny TV. Can't barely see anything, so I'm just going around going, elbowing people to death. And like I kept dying.
Oh.
My dad is hilarious when he plays games now, because we have a PS4 now, and he tried to play a game, and he just looks down at the buttons before he presses them. And like he always complains that the controller is too small for him.
Oh. My dad always rages every time. He's the best. If he had a YouTube channel, he would be like the best rager. He'd be like the new Tyler one on YouTube. Because the amount of times I've walked downstairs and heard him be like, God damn it, like really muffled from the basement, is unbelievable.
It's like from the basement too. You're like in your bedroom, so he's probably yelling out, like blowing out some eardrums of the birds nearby.
Yeah.
Shattering glass.
But me and Emerson are the same way.
Emerson, your brother, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And we both rage the same way my dad does, because we know we did something wrong, or at least this is like the whole concept of our house. Like we know we did something wrong, but we just blame it on the game instead.
Yeah, you understand your mistake. It doesn't mean you have to be happy about it.
Yes.
Okay, just because I may have made a mistake doesn't mean the game has to recognize it. And doesn't mean I have to recognize it. So clearly, it's the game's fault. Booyaka, booyaka. I don't think I'm never good at writing, because the games I like I don't have a particular genre that I like. Like, I always, like, do, like, the controller, like, shaking as if it was, like, my wife who was cheating on me. I'm gonna shake the shit out of you, woman, till you die. I always do that, but, like, I never actually, like, yelled out. I always, like, come on, like, I'm talking to myself. But never, like, a yell out curse or anything like that. I never had a bad rage at all. But, yeah, because I don't have those, like, really ragey games. I, like, play Rayman. And, like, well, especially now, and, like, or God of War. I don't really have that. I'm always able, like, right before I'm about to, like, punch my TV, I'm able to get that disconnect, saying, like, I'm doing this because I have 3 assignments to work on that I'm not doing right now. This should be happy. It's just a game. Players aren't real. And I will break my fist on the TV. Not worth it. And that's what happens as I calm down. You guys are just like,
Yeah, Emerson is the worst, because the room that he's in is right down the hall from mine, and he leaves his door open. And he plays a lot of, like, online games with his friends. So just hearing him rage is difficult when you're trying to, be calm and zen.
So like
playing.
Like you're trying, like, on hard platforms, like, I'm gonna get this so right.
Yeah.
Perfect jump. Like Mario Galaxy 2. You're gonna get that perfect right. You're gonna do all this sick combo, and, like, in the middle of it, you just hear, God damn it, he's fragged me again!
No, he does this thing where it's like, ha-ha! Ha!
Like he's laughing?
Yeah, like, he's speaking his laugh. That's what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. Ha ha, ha ha, ha ha, ha
Sounds
ha.
like Mandark from Dexter's Laboratory.
Jesus Christ, that's a great thing.
But he does that all the time when I'm trying to, play by myself, play God of War, and I just hear him down the hall, and he ruins my whole, immersion.
Immersion, yeah. It's like you're crying at the end of God of War 4, and, like, you just hear ha 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 ha. It's like when they're releasing the ashes into the sky, and you just hear, and and when you think for a second, you think like it's the mother's ashes just saying ha 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 ha. That would be a great ending to that game.
The secret ending of God of War.
The ashes just turn into the got ya sign, like,
Thor just comes out of the sky.
we're doing it like they can actually fucking see us. They
Oh yeah,
can't.
this isn't a visual podcast.
Yeah, no doubt. God damn it.
I'm sorry.
Even then, you're doing it behind your leg, like they're able to see it. Like, what the fuck? What do you think the camera is? I'm in a small room. Where do you think I can put a camera?
Oh my gosh. Speaking of visual podcasts, I think. Do you have any like inspirations for your podcast?
The podcast idea. I think I'm taking a same approach to it as I do writing,
Okay.
and that I'm figuring shit out as I go. Like, I talked about this before on my fifth podcast. How like I was super bummed out about criticism and whatnot because people said like, this needs to be like a screenplay, and like I go against that like wholeheartedly for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think just like I said, and then probably I recognize it as like I like control over things. Like with a movie, you have to like actually do it, and like I don't want someone else to do it, even though it's a weird thing with me.
Mm-hmm.
But like for podcasting, I think it's the same way. Like I'm just gonna figure it out as I go. Like I don't really know what a podcast means, and I kind of figure that out for myself. I think it's how you do really anything. It's just like, just do it.
Uh-huh.
Just do it wrong until it feels right. It's like exercising.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people in like the creative business or whatever, they often give up because of other people. Like they don't like either don't have the ability in themselves to do it, or they like just like you said, like they don't do it enough to like it.
Yeah,
Or
like
to feel like they, are good at it.
like they like it at first, but when they actually start trying to put themselves into pressure or like try to do something for like work, like a portfolio project, they're like, oh, I'm too stressful. When in
Yeah.
reality, what you need to do for anything, I believe, is just like try it until you nearly hate it, and by that point, you discover how much you actually love it.
Yeah.
Because I was like because part of the recommendations I got was like use actual street names, so I did do actual research for once. I researched the most violent parts of New York. I rehearsed. I went on Google Street Views to look at buildings that look cool for like in Manhattan, and like things actually nearby, so it would make sense story wise. Like, you just gotta do that crap. And like I didn't write over the entire summer, and I feel super bad about it because I just should have been writing all my goddamn heart out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Well, you talk about inspiration. What, like, you ever look at like when you realize like, hey, I actually like drawing and I'm good at it. When you discover that, did you look at something else and say like, I want to draw like that?
There's a lot of times I've been like, oh, I wish I could draw like that, but I'll never draw like that because my style is different from what I'm looking at. Like a lot of old art pieces, I'm like, nah, I don't want to draw like that. But the colors they use are so vibrant and cool. Or just I want to color like that.
But like old styles, you mean like something like, because they're not gonna draw like Norman Rockwell.
Yeah,
Or,
like Renaissance kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I always think those are like really nice to look at.
Yeah, realistic stuff.
Yeah.
I think always like realistic paintings. So like, Norman Rockwell for me is like an example of that. I'll probably put a picture up of his work up. One of those famous ones. Like, it's so realistic, but not quite, and that's where the real art comes from.
Mhm.
It's like you're just making it like it resembles life so bloody well, but like it's something like so like impactful on it is like super good.
Mhm.
And like I just love his work. I remember in the library in our school, I was working on something else and I had free time, so I just looked up a bunch of Norman Rockwell paintings, and it was just fun. Do you ever do that? You just look at like an artist you find,
Mhm.
and just look up all their like social media or whatnot.
Yeah, there's one artist, visual artist, like canvas art kind of thing. His name is like Patrick Kinuthia, and he does like all these pictures of like Africa and all these people, but it's not realistic-ish. Like the eyes are bigger,
Mhm.
and the head's kind of like large, but like he does it all with like palette knives and acrylic, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I remember you hearing like, because you do mostly like sketching and visual art, but you also do some like actual physical artwork, like
Yeah.
painting and all that.
Yeah, I've started getting in more canvas paint and like watercolor ever since school rolled around, because I thought I could make some money off of it, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I find that so like, because that must be such a pain, of like just like, it is I always say I can never do art because I have shaky hands.
Mhm.
Like whenever I think like with writing, I usually I'm like so focused on what I'm thinking and saying, like so visual. I think I write in a very visual way. It's very literal and very visual.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people say such a screenplay, and like not going like it again, but like I'm so focused on that don't have time to think, so I just write it down, which is also why it comes out really bad sometimes, and also sometimes really good.
Okay.
But but with like art, whenever I have to write something, I have like shaky hands. So like whenever I have to bring a cup up to my mother for like a soda or something like that, I always like getting super nervous and I shake and I have to hold it down. And I have like really shaky hands, and so like I can't like do art at all.
Oh.
Also that, and just like I think so far ahead in things. Like with writing, it's fine. Like I could script all that out and make me feel good. But with art, if you try to do something like super ahead, you're gonna screw yourself up. That's what I've seen at the very least.
Yeah. There's always like artists that just go straight into painting, like they don't even sketch it out on the canvas, and that always seemed like a phenomenon to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fact that they can just take something in front of them and put them on a canvas is probably the best thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
Yeah, like from head to canvas, no.
Yeah, like they don't need any guidelines or any like enlargements that they need to like prep for. They just do it, and that's so cool.
Wear no seatbelts, no condoms,
No.
nothing. Right into it. My name's Phil
Right
DeFranco.
in
I'm pretty sure all you know Phil DeFranco. I want to ask him if I ever meet him one day. Have you ever used the term "you just been filled in with your wife"? If you haven't, why haven't you? And when you get your third kid, do it. You've had 3 kids at this point. She doesn't care. I really wish he does that, and he says yes if I ever meet him. Just imagine, after like, you know, trying for a child on Valentine's Day, super romantic and all that, he's cuddled up next together, and before you go to sleep, you just say, "You've just been filled in."
That'll get her wet.
Again. That's so bad. I thought of that and I was laughing to I thought of that like 3 years ago when I first started watching him. And I was like laughing to myself like an idiot.
Like we're writing a script for him, it's okay.
Ever have on that topic, ever have like an idea, like you don't have like your drawing stuff next to you, but like you're thinking about it the entire time?
Oh, at school all the time. I'm always thinking, in the middle of like a math test or something, I could be writing the number 7 and be like, I could turn the 7 into something cool.
Like a tree.
Yeah, the whole day, so I'm just thinking about the number 7. And then I get home and I eat one sandwich and I'm just like, what was I drawing?
I have the same thing where like I have a bunch of random thoughts so now I just have a thing where like I have a Google Doc where it's just called collection of ideas, and I just have thoughts for my novel, my comic book, my poems, and like possibly just in my comedies, especially now comedy. I'm trying to do stand up again next year for the school fair, school talent show. I mean, and it's another one of my great passions. I love comedy, and so I have like any funny idea I even think about that I can make into like a little, because I always write in like tangents. I think that's gonna be like the funny thing in my style is like, as I do just speaking normally, I go on tangents of comparing things to other things, and that's just gonna be my style because this is how I talk. And so I just end up writing like in the middle of like lunch or class or like after class, I'm in the hall and just writing down like a super long tangent or whatever, like 3 a.m, and it's just weird.
Yeah.
I remember I had this one idea where God, I forget it now. I should probably bring it up on my actual computer to read it, but oh yeah, I was thinking like about how I had a random idea of like dance. I was thinking of like, okay, I have free time. I'm gonna think of something funny, and think of like a weird dance where like you put your arms up and you bring it back and forth, like you're doing like a weird Macarena / like Hail Hydra movement.
Oh, okay.
And I thought of comparing that, and like I was writing this all down. I'm not gonna tell the joke because it's too long and exasperated and needs a setup that I haven't discovered yet. But like I was writing this down in like math. Like just super random places of just I get an idea and I have to write it down.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where I wake up at literally 3 a.m. and there's a notebook next to me that I keep next to my bed. So like if I have a weird dream, it's like a dream journal, I guess we could call it. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, I have a good idea, so I write it down on there and I go back to sleep. And then sometimes I wake up and I look at like 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before, and I'm like, did I write this? Did I actually write this with my own mind and hand?
Oh yeah, same thing. I look back on like the old stuff I did like last year when I did creative writing one stuff. I look back at my old stuff and I'm like, man, this is fucking awful. And I'm like, I'm already like super hard on myself when it comes to like anything creative.
Oh yeah.
I'm always like super hard on myself, like to a fault. Mm-hmm. Like even my creative writing teacher, who like always ribs at, I'm like the guy who ribs everyone. Mm-hmm. And like when it comes to my thing, I was like, yeah, I'm super sorry about that. And like I end up like just I'm known, like I said this before in the last podcast, like I'm always like the oddball out. And I always like, even no matter what, I have an opinion on it because I just think about things. I always have an idea on how to improve something, even if I know it's the person probably not gonna do it. It's still an idea. Mm-hmm. And they often like thank me for it because at least I'm saying something.
Yeah.
But like with myself and like when I just go off my hand. Like I usually like I purposely like go hyperbolic sometimes just to get their attention, like saying this is how I feel, and then I go on to like how I actually think about it and like very technical with it. It's like, oh, because it's just a joke to me. Like, so it's how I disarm them. Mm-hmm. Like, I go into something like saying, okay, I really love this line. The entire fucking poem I hate, but this line is really great, and like it just disarms them for a second. I like talk about it like everything else, and they seem to understand most of the time.
Yeah.
But with me, it was just like I hate myself right now because it's like a lot of like grammatical stuff. I'm a writer and I'm borderline illiterate sometimes. I swear to God. And like another stuff like things that don't go through because I'm so far like I said, tangents. I write a bunch of details that I look back and like none that has to be there. And like ideas that I don't see for my own thing, which I feel bad about because I always give other people's ideas. And so I'm like, why can't I do that for my fucking self? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I worry about like, am I a better critic than I'm an artist? And like, am I just gonna be that curmudgeonly a-hole the entire time of my life? Then I start going to like some existential crisis and whatnot, and eventually at some point I just realized, God, I'm gonna eat lunch soon. Oh. Let's focus on that. I got lunch.
Okay.
Let's go home. I'm gonna eat lunch. I'm gonna sandwich and that's it.
Aww.
And that's what happens.
See, like that's the thing I like about you. Like you give your honest opinion, because you see all these people, like you ask them, they're like, it's okay. Like they're hesitant about it. Mm-hmm. But you're just like, straight out, this is shit.
Or like straight out, I love this.
Yeah. Like, you're able to express your feelings, but you're also, like, cognizant of other people's, like, emotions while you're saying stuff.
Yeah, I remember one time that, I said something, it was in my first creative writing class, that, I said something, like, the writing I thought was good, but it was, like, very simplistic. And the exact thing I said was, it was like someone wrote this in English, poorly translated it into Chinese, and then like poorly translated it back into English. Which is really funny, but also really harsh. And like immediately after I said it, everyone chewed me out for it. And like that was a great class, and like they were not afraid to call me out on it. Mm-hmm. And like I after hearing that, I was thinking on it like, yeah, that was really harsh. I was thinking of like that before as like I was like pre-think things that like I think will never happen. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, what if I like be interrogated by a terrorist, or like what if I ever meet a president, or what I'm gonna ask this and that person, like people I'm never gonna meet probably.
Yeah.
And I always like that's how I spend most of my time, just thinking of like things to say. Mm-hmm. It's probably why I'm so good at like dialogue. That's why people tell me like I'm really good at like dialogue. I just think all these like outcomes out. So I probably thought of that. I was thinking of that beforehand, like, oh, this would be a really clever thing to say. Mm-hmm. Not taking into account like actual emotion. Like I'm not reading off the room right now. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I said that and like felt really bad and said, okay, I'm sorry. That was genuinely too far. And then the first time I had to say that, and like I had to say actually sorry, and it was all good. Like I recognized my mistake.
Okay. Well,
I think that's also partly why that I really wish some people would just really mean to me. Like I'm so like critical of other people when I was like going into my own thing. I was like saying, okay, yeah, just fucking destroy me. Like, just tear me apart. Then I, like, felt bad because I was saying things I didn't have thought about. And then I ended up doing the sorry thing. And, like, then I don't want to criticize me anymore. But I still want to criticize. I still want them to criticize me, but I feel bad about it. Oh. It's like just a weird cycle of feelings.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. It's weird with me.
I feel like that's the same way for me, too. Because when I draw something and I ask, like, an art teacher or, like, an art major or something, like, how is it? How is my perspective? And how's my, like, line of symmetry and all the shading and stuff? they're like, oh, it could be better, but, and then they say something like harsh or like, you could do better on this or that. And I always take it to heart for some reason. Like, I should never draw again.
Yeah, like that's like a sort of thing. Like if you're young as us, full of hormones, and like thinking like this can be our future and whatnot, you're gonna take it to heart no matter what you do. If you ever try to do something, like if you run a club and like something goes wrong, to like for the student and another advisor, it's not. I mean, you're the president or whatnot. Like it's not your fault per se, but it's still like you feel a part of it because it's like something you're doing. Is that?
Yeah.
I think that's just a general thing of our age. Of like just like God, I wish I could do this more or something like this is my fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot of that, especially since as especially creative people, probably other people, when we do the things that we like and like we're putting ourselves on, like we insert ourselves into many things. Like I put yourself into artistry or like your sport or like your whatever, like your work. Like if you're an SAT student, you get like one bad grade, one bad like line that really hits your home, or like one bad game. You reconsider your entire bloody life.
Yeah.
And like it just sucks. But
Yeah.
at that point, you just gotta realize like, okay, it is what it is. I gotta take it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just criticism.
Yeah.
Especially with art, like with sports, it like you know you did a bad thing, and in that situation you gotta be like, okay, well I messed up this time, can't mess up the other time. Gotta work harder and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And with art, and like the same thing with tests. It's like, well, I screwed up. Here's how I do it. But with art, you gotta realize like sometimes people's criticisms like don't help in a way. Like they always do help, but it's always like gotta recognize it's from different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like you gotta realize like some things. First of all, take everything in consideration at all times, but think about like what it means for you. Like if I hand my book out to like people my age and they all love it, and I hand it out to people adults and like some people hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta realize like okay, they don't like sort of like the teenage elements, but who is my audience? Probably teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing. And like not a good thing, but like that's just a thing I'm aiming for. So it's not that big of a deal. It's still a big deal per se, but it's like not as big a deal. You just gotta take and pick what you think is actually gonna help you, and what things are just gonna end up make you hate the art.
Yeah.
Like same thing what I did after I talked. I was like, this is like again going back to myself after my first like big judgment. I went to like my creative writing teacher and talking to her about like, because I also said like back to the details thing. This is such a thing about me that I feel like I insert, and like I talked to her about it. And, like I literally used the word like, how do I like neuter myself to like make it seem like it's not so much like me? Because I once said it reads so much like you, and like it's such you, and I felt like really self-conscious about that because I was worried I was like just a parody of myself and I didn't have any range, which is not the case at all. It's just a style.
Okay.
It's just like my thing, and I got to accept that. And she helped me see it like that. It's like, what you do with this stuff, you have to like, it is things you can improve and whatnot, but as some things you just gotta take for what it is, and then, continue doing it no matter what. Because if you take everything at heart like that, you're gonna end up hating the art, and you're gonna end up like hating something that you actually love. You just don't know it because you're so focused on negative stuff. So you just gotta realize that people are gonna hate your shit.
Yeah.
No matter what the hell you do. If you do anything that other people will see, someone's gonna hate it. Okay,
Yeah.
Someone a long time ago probably called the Mona Lisa shit.
Yeah.
Okay, just realize that you take it what it is.
Yeah. I feel like as you age and like if you take an art and you do it for the rest of your life or you make a career out of it, you're gonna hate your craft sometime in your life. You're gonna hit an all-time low and like never write again or never draw again or never sculpt anything for a while, and then
3 weeks later you're at the coffee shop and your friend says something that's like super inspirational.
yeah, and then you need to find that one push, to make you inspired, or to look at me sounding like an art teacher, find your inspiration, but you need to find your inspiration and things that you want to do or things that you think are cool, because sometimes you could work 2 months on a canvas painting or a sculpture and hand it in for a final draft, and your higher up might think that's your sketch or your rough draft for your thing, when it's actually something you put your heart and soul into, which would be bad, but I guess it's their way of saying you could improve on this and that.
Like they're seeing things way ahead of you. Like they see it and like this is like very foundational. Like you say like I'm not an artist, so I'm probably speaking on my ass right now, but like just probably like in that I would say if I take like they probably see something a lot bigger in me and thinking like okay this is like what you can start with and like at that point if it is like Russian sketch probably like okay there's like details I'm not seeing here which they probably see because they look at a bunch of stuff so they're probably seeing a bunch of details you don't see. So in that case I would take it like that, still feel like shit for a while but take it like that eventually.
Yeah. And I'm in my art portfolio class right now. And the art teacher usually just walks around and, looks at your drawing. It's like, oh, you can do this and do that. And when I'm painting, like, by myself, she doesn't really come over to me a lot. And I remember she came over one time and she's like, that looks really good. But that's the only thing she said to me about my art the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's just the start of the year. I'm like, you've went over to all these people and gave them critique. But I know my art's not that good, so why are you just giving me one compliment?
Well, maybe she sees that you kind of... I think the same thing with, like, creative writing sometimes. The teacher there is like, you push them in the right direction, but sometimes you can see it in people. Like, they are, like, probably the best friend and worst enemy at sometimes. Mm-hmm. She's probably just seeing you work and it's like, okay, that's good. But, like, she's clearly, like, pushing herself more than I can ever push her. So, like, I just gotta, like, let her do her thing.
Yeah.
And eventually, with a problem like that sometimes, like, we, as, artists and stuff like that, get into our own heads a lot. It's just how we do things. And eventually we end up, like, just projecting a lot of our real shit into our art. And then, like, at that point, when you start doing that, it becomes, like, everything becomes, like, connected to each other. And, like, you see, like, your art reflects you as a person and whatnot. And then, like, yada yada yada, you end up hating yourself, end up like burning something, and like exploding a glass vase in your face, and like eventually yeah, I wouldn't take it too hard. Like she just probably like you're just doing a good job. You're probably doing what you're supposed to do, and that's it. You just gotta keep doing it.
But sometimes it's weird for me because sometimes I'm like, man, I want someone to tell me I'm a piece of crap about my art, and give me advice on what to do, and how to do this stuff. But other times it's like, if you tell me something and the first two words are, this is good, but I'm probably going to start crying.
I feel the same way. Like, sometimes I feel like, I think it's because as we have, like, a subconscious drive to, like, do more. Mm-hmm. Like, we could do so much better than this, probably. Like, I just don't know how to do it. And, like, what we don't realize in that moment is that, like, what we're doing right now is how we get there. Mm-hmm. Like, that whole, like, I can probably do better. Like, you probably could, but you don't scrap what you have doing right now. You just finish it, and you learn through that. That's what you really have to do. Like, I feel the same way every day I write. As, like, I probably do, like, all this and this. And, like, it's probably not that hot as I think it is, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think, I can do so much better. Well, that's a good thing. But, like, don't stop what you're doing at all. Just keep doing it. And, like, I could do probably so much better right now. I was like, yeah, but finish this.
Yeah. And
when you finish it, you get something to look back on. And when you look back on something, you realize what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
Like, I can do dialogue. My people sound like people. What I can't do is, like, long, boring, pace-breaking, like, analysis of the environment. That's my problem. I just write too much detail, and it stops the flow and pace. Mm-hmm. Or, like, hey, this is riddled with grammar issues. Fucking fix that shit. It makes it hard to read, you fucking 5th grader. It's like that. Like, when you finish something, like, think, I could do this so much better. Like, I'm probably doing this terrible. Mm-hmm. When you look back on it, you're gonna realize, like, I actually like this bit, and I hate this bit. You're gonna pick out what you like and don't like.
Yeah. There's a lot of times to look back at my old art. Like, my old canvas paintings from old art classes I look back on. And I'm like, man, the shading's wrong, and the eye is off, and the hair should be this way and not that way. But, like, I was young. I was still developing what I wanted to do. And I'm glad I tried my best on it. But there's a room for so much more improvement and, practice that you really need to put yourself into. Like, that's why I buy all those concept art books. so I can learn from that and put it into something I like to do. Like, I do a lot of character design now, which is cool. And I like to do that, but I see all these people, like game developers, they're always talking about like, oh, you can look at this and think that this could be a cool chest piece or a headpiece or make this character based around this. And I'm like, I don't see how you could do that.
I think that is part of like discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a big thing with anything. It's like just discipline. You gotta do something you want to do, then do it all the time. And if you don't want to do it all the time, then you probably don't want to do it for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just hit a brick. You just gotta keep hitting that brick wall until it breaks down. And like also when you look on that thing of like looking back on your work, it's like when you hate your old work, that's how you know you actually improved. It's like when you can make fun of mercilessly yourself, that's when you know like, hey, I'm actually better. Because at that point you're thinking like, oh god, this is like bad, and like this is like, oh god, it's awful. Why? How did I ever do this?
Mm-hmm.
You worry about like, oh, am I really doing this? But when you look back at your own stuff, you realize like, hey, this is actually better.
Yeah.
And that's a really powerful thing when you realize like, because improvement in your own craft or of anything, you know, school and stuff, you don't realize it. You only realize the failures.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really realize when you're getting good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this has been a heavy topic for the last like 20 minutes.
Self-doubt, that's fun.
Yeah, self-doubt. Doing terrible. Okay, lighten the mood. I got a topic.
Okay.
Overwatch.
Oh.
Fucking gerbil in a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
That shit. What happened?
So I think everyone was expecting a character to go with, you know, the big monkey, space monkey. Well,
Yeah.
wind tone. But,
Wind tone.
wind tone. But, I think Jeff just pulled, you know, a total 180 and just gave them a hamster just because he thought it was cool, just to mess with everybody that was already doing concept art with, you know, Hammond. And I think I remember the developer updating going up, and
Did it start with a pun?
no.
That's what I got. If it did start with a pun, that's how you know.
But no, he was like, hey everybody, it's Jeff on the Overwatch team. And he started talking about Hammond, and everybody was like, yes, Hammond. And they saw the thumbnail and was like, who is that? And then the more he went on, I remember I was like, this is not what I wanted.
I think like with me, I felt Overwatch mostly because just the gameplay loop felt this didn't keep me in thought. Not like TF2. Mm-hmm. TF2 has a wonderful gameplay loop because it's very complex. The skill ceiling is into infinity. Mm-hmm. And with Overwatch, it's very simplistic and like it really relies on the team you got. If you don't have a good player, like personal friend base, mm-hmm. it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
And like so, I got tired of that. That's why I stopped playing it. But like that thing, like I always admired Overwatch because it was so goddamn cartoony. Mm-hmm. But like it still felt like there could be weight to the story. You cannot have any dramatic thing with a fucking hamster rolling around. Fucking flying like a fucking those chomps from Wario,
yeah.
Mario 64. We got that guy. We just rolling around, you know, bumping into crap. We have a man who is a war veteran, wielding a giant hammer, a rocket hammer, like charging people. That's awesome. This stupid like smart space hamster is stupid. The ape has more ability. The ape, I bought into the ape, you know, doing mathematician stuff while, you know, eating bananas and crap. Or no, he eats peanut butter. He doesn't actually like bananas. See,
yeah.
I know that because I like the character. What does the dribble have to offer?
Yeah. There's not a lot of, you know, stuff to go off of Hammond. It's just that, you know, his orb talks a lot.
Like with, like any character, I could probably like... you probably like put in a hat saying like, you need to make a fanfic of like this character and this character fucking.
Yeah.
I could probably do that with anyone. If I got Hammond, I'd be like, shit. I could get Bastion and Widowmaker, and I probably could make it work. Because Bastion is like so goddamn charming, and Widowmaker has a fat ass. And it's match made in heaven. Okay, someone draw me that.
The Overwatch community is so weird, because I don't know if you saw the Diva cinematic.
Oh yeah, I did.
For it. And they released, you know, her team of mech crew people,
Mm-hmm.
and like the other girl, they were like, "There's another girl on the team. They're girlfriends. Diva and that other girl, they're girlfriends because they go so in depth with everything."
Yeah.
And
The seeing details that really aren't there.
yeah, like there was one I remember reading a post where it was like, they're gay because they have two beanbags next to each other and their rooms are next to each other and like all this simple stuff. Like, you're reading too much into this. I get you're like, you know, into lore and stuff, but
yeah, like Overwatch has some actual like good lore.
Mhm.
Like in that one map, the capture the point map, they have like Genji's room
Mhm.
from like the temples. Like that's good lore. What they're seeing is bullcrap. Also, I didn't like that cinematic.
yeah.
That was it felt a bit like story wise, it was a bit rushed. And like it was just a guy being cucked for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just a guy being cucked for the first 5 minutes. That's what it is.
Good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you feel bad for that guy, man. I would have to rewatch it to like remember like exactly what I don't like about it. But like I just remember like don't liking it. Not just don't liking it. Thank God. I just remember not liking it for some reasons. I don't know. I'm always like with anything. I always look for a narrative, and like that's why I probably don't do a lot of poems and whatnot, because I like narrative, and like so I always focus on like that bit, and so like there's probably something like narrative wise or like action wise that I thought was like this could have been way better or way more interesting.
I remember watching the Diva cinematic. I was like, wow, that was a cool filler. When's the real one coming out?
Like this cannot be her backstory.
Yeah, this cannot be. This is like she's already in Overwatch or something like that.
Or like she's like already like it's super established.
Yeah.
And, like there's no character moment like this. She doesn't learn anything. She
Yeah.
learns like, oh, people I get the need the help of other people. But like she's already on a team. How did she
Yeah.
not learn that?
Yeah.
What she need to do, like not take so many things on herself?
Yeah. Why does she get all the credit? What about her team?
Yeah, exactly. What the fuck? She's not like the main she fought off like 4 dudes. It's not that big of a deal. Okay?
Yeah. Any one of them could have done that. Their mechs were just repairing, but
Yeah,
I
exactly.
guess.
Yeah, apparently they fought like a giant monster. She fought like 4 things. Like, I thought it was a really big. No, it wasn't. Fuck you.
come on, Blizzard. I thought you were better than this.
Yeah, I can't stop thinking about that goddamn hamster.
He is very.
Did I ever tell you how I actually tried to write Overwatch fanfiction?
You?
Yes, I legitimately tried to write Overwatch fanfiction.
Are you okay?
It was a while ago before I even started doing my book. It was actually I'll explain this because it was a fun idea for the time.
Okay.
I thought like basically my character now Vito, the mob guy, but I thought of a new cool thing. He needed to be like a cool action star because video games and whatnot.
Mhm.
And so my idea was that he would be paired up with because I also wanted healers in the game. I also thought his friend would be a cool healer, and so it would be like he would be the stereotypical Italian because Overwatch is something with stereotypes.
Yeah.
That's why I can't go. Okay, before I get into that, why do people keep shipping Hanzo and McCree? They're the 2 most stereotypical characters, and like they have no personality. Like freaking McCree has at least some charm to him because he's a cowboy, but freaking Hanzo is nothing. Okay, he just has a jawline, and that's about it. From the jawline upward, there's nothing in there.
There's something about McCree where he didn't know. He thought everybody's code name was their real name.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, Soldier 76. What about this? Like, call me Jack. He's like, who's Jack?
Oh yeah, well also like McCree has a cool backstory where like he was part of a gang and then was brought in by that's cool. Shimada is like crime boss thing. It's like
Yeah, we love the Yakuza, but come on.
Yeah, Genji's a more Kenshin character than that at all. And my guy was basically just a mob guy, and like he was like that was a tie-in, because Shimada has like ties in New York and whatnot, and that's how you introduce it. And like my character would be like, it's basically my character now with my novel Vito, but like way more established and way more of an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Like he'd be the cocky like, okay, I run this shit. What the fuck are you people doing here? And like his friend would be like, I forget what I was calling. I call him McCreary because he was an Irish American, and like there'd be like representing like the stereotypical like New York groups.
Mm-hmm.
That a Chinese friend would be complete of like people working making skyscrapers and bridges that time. That's what I base it off of. So he's Italian and he's Irish guy, and the Irish guy would be like a really cool like. His uncle would have worked with like the first Overwatch iteration, and like working on and like Cybertronics and stuff that eventually would fix Genji.
Mm-hmm.
But he had an idea that was impossible, and that was to replace for many parts of the human spine to increase the entire, like, enhance the entire body. But the Overwatch people said, like, hey, human subjects, not gonna sign up for that shit. And not getting their spine removed. And so, like, he would study himself, like, and he would come home, because he's, like, basically, McCreary's story is that his uncle adopted him after his parents died.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, he studied his uncle's work, and, like, that's how he went to medicine and whatnot. And McCree, fucking hell, Vito, my character, the Italian, Vito, call him Vito. Vito would just be, stereotypical, like, rough streets, upbringing, fell into the mob, and they, like, went off to, like, do something in the Middle East, and was, like, actually taken in by, Farah's, like, part of, like, a rocketeering, like, police force.
Yeah.
They were taking them like that in the desert, like, doing a deal probably for weapons, or, like, oil, some shit. And, like, cause McCreary had to, like, pay for some, like, hospital, like, medical, like, health school and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Health school, fucking hell.
Health school.
Medical school and whatnot. He like helps the mob because he's from the area.
Mm-hmm.
He helps, like, fix up guys, and he's, like, sent on this mission. It's like, okay, if you do this, we'll pay off your debts, and, like, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not actually gonna kill someone, but then, like, they get ambushed, and, like, Vito's, like, hurt really bad, and, like, there's no way to save him unless he does that operation his uncle wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just by sheer force of will, McCreary saves Vito, and that's where they became friends, and that's where New York. And the story would be how they got wrapped into the entire situation. Is that Talon with Doom? This is before Doomfist, but the fact that Doomfist is, like, an organized criminal makes it so much better now.
Yeah.
I would have Doomfist, like, go on, like, have a deal with, like, Vito's mob boss, and, like, he would be like something like that. He'd be like working for Talon, like, inadvertently, like, indirectly working with him already. And at that point, there's probably, like, an Overwatch sting of, like, the guys trying to save him, and, like, Vito's stuck in the middle of it. His boss gets killed, and so, like, he, like, swears revenge and whatnot, because, like, he's the father figure to him.
Yeah.
And it's like, so he falls in with, the Talon, and, like, trying to kill them, and, like, eventually, that's how he falls into the Overwatch.
Oh.
And, like, it would be like Junkrat, and, like, that no one really trusts him.
Okay.
That would be the story. McCreary would be like, hey, Angela Mercy, you're, like, famous in our field, because, she's, like, super famous.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's really cool, and, like, I want to help people. Because McCreary's, like, inner conflict that he's kind of, like, helping people to harm people. In reality, he just wants to help people.
Okay.
Like, he turned the, I think actually what I wanted for the uncle idea was that he wanted it to, like, help paralyze people, as well as another part of it. But they would turn it into a weapon.
Okay.
And so, like, that's why he left, the uncle of McCreary. So McCreary wants to actually help people and not criminals, but, he has to. So what he did was he gave Vito, the spine that helps him, be super strong and whatnot. But as a safe space in case, because at this point he wasn't friends with Vito. So, like, he had to come up with something, and because he just couldn't, because of technology, he's in the middle of the desert having to save this guy. So he does operation, but he basically has it so that the spine in Vito, which gives him all the powers, is controlled by him partly.
Yeah.
So, like, he could, like, give him superpowers, like, he could call in saying, like, hey, I need this right now. Like, like if I ran, Jarvis from Iron Man, he's like Vito's Jarvis.
Okay.
And he helps him out. He, like, controls his systems and whatnot, make sure he's, like, alive and whatnot, so he doesn't, like, blow his heart out.
Okay.
And so he does that, so he sticks with Vito to help, like, hey, Vito, because Vito doesn't want to join at first. He's, like, saying, fuck you guys, you got my guy killed, screw you. But he also realizes, like, hey, McCreary says to Vito, like, hey, we can get revenge, and also, he doesn't tell him that he also wants to help people. Like, hey, let's work with these people, get revenge, and, like, then we can leave. Like, sure, okay. And, like, he's super standoffish with the entire rest of the group, and eventually turns to, like, Vito actually becoming a good person.
Okay.
Not caring about money, because he actually doesn't care about money, he just cares about, like, helping this community.
Oh.
And that's why he joined, because, bad neighborhood killed his like, his mom or something like that, and so he had to, like, he always wanted to, like, raise it up, gentrification, commentary somewhere in there.
Okay.
And, like, that would be the story, and that's what I wanted to write. But I got bored.
I'm so surprised you remembered all that. That was amazing. I'd read that.
It would be an interesting thing, but, like, I don't know, I had a problem with it where, like, I fell out of the game, first of all, and then part of that, like, I always try to stay, like, as canon I can to the game while adding to it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, like, those, like, alternate universe people, like, hey, they're on high school now in Japan.
Oh.
I don't like that. I was, like, adding to things, not like changing them. I was like adding to things or changing them to a way where I feel like it adds to like an idea they're already displaying. But I feel like it could be done in a better way.
Yeah.
And so I don't like that. And eventually when the game kept going and going and like fucking hamsters and shit, I just felt the narrative of the game.
Yeah, I feel like they're running out of ideas. I feel like Blizzard ran out of ideas when Hammond came out because they're doing I remember who was it? Hammond was supposed to come out before Orisa. And then Orisa came out and everyone was like, "Yo, what the fuck? Like, where's the Hammond? Where's the monkey?" And then they were like, "Ah, sorry. Here you get this hamster instead." Like, what? That's they're really running out of things to do.
Yeah.
Because of, they can't make any more weapons. Like, they can develop new weapons, but, like, it's supposed to be an FPS game, and they've been adding, like, laser fingers and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's like, the thing with TF2 is, like, this art style is so iconic and, like, timeless.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, the gameplay is, like, they only need 9 classes.
Yeah.
What they do is just introduce more weapons that play off of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they recently introduced for the Pyro, a rocket launcher, basically, in a jetpack.
Mm-hmm.
And it, like, people always complain, like, hey, the Pyro, like, has, like, very little mobility. Like, WM1 is, like, because he has a flamethrower, you just press forward and press mouse 1.
Mm-hmm.
You just go all around. But with the new jetpack and rocket launcher, he has not only more range, but also more mobility. And since TF2 is already so fun to move around in, it's great.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and with them, because, like, Overwatch is, like, so simplistic, like, everything's assigned to a button.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, like, playing around with, like, there's no rocket jumping in Overwatch.
Yeah.
There's no, like, there's no trimping. There's no, like, abusing the game's engine. It's just, like, you press the button and you fly, or you press the button and you roll. That's it.
Yeah.
And in trying to develop so many systems in a multiplayer game, we need to keep it all balanced. That must be a bitch and a half.
Yeah. I guess they're doing, like, some sort of, like, Torbjorn rework. By the time this comes out, I guess it'll already be in, like, PTR or whatever. But
More like PTSD.
we peaked, ladies and gentlemen. We peaked for humor. But yeah, they're doing some weird rework with his ultimate, and nobody's objecting to it, but I bet as the game goes on, they're gonna be like, "This is bad. We don't like this because I get killed too easy, and I don't like it because none of my abilities work. Me. And I guess that's the same thing with Mercy. Mercy's in the ground right now, but I don't really care.
I would play Mercy still. If I had to go up back into that game, I would still main healers.
Yeah.
I like doing that. In TF2, I mained attack roles. I mained scout, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But in Overwatch, I just gravitated to healing because it was such like a frenetic game with a bunch of abilities.
Yeah.
I feel like I would screw it up, so I always like had to stay back, help people.
Yeah, I always like the idea of healing. That's why I play so much Ana in Overwatch. I guess the thought of being a sniper and shooting people and healing them was so cool to me.
What would be your Overwatch OC?
The Overwatch OC?
Yeah, original character for those who don't know.
I don't know. I remember my friends that I play Overwatch with, they asked me to do a character design for their Overwatch OC.
Jesus.
And they liked it. They thought it was pretty good. But I've never been like, I'm going to put my own character into the game and have this, because I wasn't really good at that at the time it came out, but now that I think about it, I'd probably make another healer.
Yeah, that's the same thing I wanted to do. Would you, any other game that you wanted to put something in?
Not really. I haven't been, like, in the video game, aspect since, like, the middle of middle school. So, like, I guess 6th grade or 7th grade is when I started getting into that stuff. But other than that, I'm like, I look at a game like, wow, that's cool, and that's it. But I feel like if there's a game that, needs rework or needs another character that'll balance out the whole thing, I'll be like, yeah. Yeah.
We're running close to our time here. I got one last question for you before it closes out. Probably go a little over. You mentioned to me before the podcast you have going back to because this video is basically being about media consumption. What medium art form? Like I know you don't seem to really read comics or stuff like that and like videos and whatnot. Like if you had to go into a field to say like I want to be in this field forever now, like a certain medium or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
What would it be? Would it be
I feel for me, I'd be into digital stuff because I don't like the idea of putting something on paper and then erasing it. I like the, idea of putting something on a canvas and like having it there forever, like something I just look at every day. But like having the ease to just like make a line mistake on computer and being like, I know, Control Z, you know. That's just truly a blessing.
And on like what part of like media? Like, would you do video games with that, or comic books, or like?
I'd feel like I'd want to be a concept artist for video games, but I don't really. I thought of working for Blizzard, but like the art style is like very specific. Like you have to draw like Blizzard all the time, and I don't like that limitation. Of having artists be like, "Oh, okay, I'll just abandon my whole style and draw this new thing." So.
Yeah, you could probably do a comic book. We could probably discuss it. If we get back, I'll tell you my idea for a comic book as well.
Uh-huh.
I have a lot of ideas. Would you imagine? I'll tell you that whole spiel of like my idea for like a comic book story. I have an entire thing written out like for villains and whatnot. Cool ideas with storyline and all that. But I'll tell you that maybe on a later podcast. We'll have you back.
Okay.
Now that has been the Dabble and Babble podcast. I have been your gracious host, Brian Avela Suzuzu, and we'll see you next time. I'm about to pound the pussy.
Stop.
Fucking won't stop.